Vlad Kolyachonok. There we go. Love it. So Vlad Kolyachonok has just been traded to the Dallas Stars. As you can see, Dumba and a 2026 second round pick to the Pittsburgh Penguins. So this is a cap dump, but Vlad Kolyachonok, honestly, I love it. Belarus, 6'2" defenseman. He's actually a guy that's a little untapped potential. So the Dallas Stars get a guy that could be like their 7th defenseman, but maybe an opportunity to play the top 6. We'll see what Dallas does next, because this whole video is going to be about what is coming next. From Pittsburgh's side, from Dallas' side, from other teams. Sprinkle a little Toronto in there, but you know what? Got to talk about this trade just quickly. So Dumba, 1 year left at a $3.75 million cap hit. Dallas needed the cap flexibility, so they had to attach the second round pick to get off that contract. So Dallas signing him to a 2-year deal looks really, really bad. But you know what? They get out of it with a second round pick. That's not really a factor for them. I do think there's a couple things I do want to talk about quickly. One being this guy, Erik Karlsson. So we'll talk about this. And from the Woodward Sports Network, this could be a next move for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I just saw this mock trade, so I'll give them a shout. You know what? I do think there's a potential for a Karlsson and a Brian Rust trade to the Red Wings. I've talked about the Brian Rust move to Detroit. I've also talked about Karlsson potentially to Detroit and also to Toronto. I mean, a lot of people want to connect all the players to Toronto. But I will say this. The reason why it does make sense is because Brad Treliving is going for a guy that a lot of people are not talking about, I think. He's going for a big fish. It might be on the forward aspect to replace Mitch Marner, but you know Brad Treliving loves his defense groups. He focused on that in Calgary. He loves his defense groups. So would it shock me to get a fellow Swede of Oliver Ekman-Larsson with Erik Karlsson? And in a scenario to get Erik Karlsson, if Pittsburgh was willing to retain, you don't even have to trade Carlo or any of your defensemen. Maybe Pittsburgh would like a Benoit, but they already have a lot of left shot defensemen, so maybe you even keep Benoit in that scenario. Maybe it's a younger player like a Nick Robertson. But then this conversation came out. I haven't seen the clip yet, but I'm trusting that this is real because a lot of people put attention on it. So I'm not verifying this, but I have heard other speculation from other sources that Nick Robertson might be back in Toronto for a couple of reasons. One, because Mitch Marner is gone. So Nick Robertson sees an opportunity on that right side potentially, because the left wing all of a sudden in Toronto, if Matthias Maccelli is on the left side and Nyes is already there, all of a sudden the right side is wide open outside of William Nylander for Nick Robertson to get an opportunity if he wants to play on that right side. Like if William Nylander's on the second line, there's an opportunity for Nick Robertson to find himself on that top line with Austin Matthews and Matthew Nyes, an all-American top line. So I know I'm kind of going in all different directions with this conversation right now, but this is relevant to Pittsburgh and relevant because also Kyle Dubas, former GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, loves Nick Robertson. And I always thought it was ironic because Sheldon Keefe, I don't think, did. So anyways, going back to this trade, how this benefits Pittsburgh too is they get extra capital, like extra draft capital. They can, of course, be patient, but they've got to be careful with what happens because obviously Crosby wants to stay now. Things could change once Malkin's gone. To talk beyond this in terms of next moves, I do want to go into potential next moves for Pittsburgh here, so let's get into it. So there's a couple here that I thought were really interesting. This is not me. I'm making this very clear. I did not make these trades. This is from a fan online. But in terms of some kind of combined Pittsburgh-Toronto trade, that's a lot of draft capital to be given up. But in this scenario, you're getting Erik Karlsson 50% retained and Brian Rust. I mean, that's a pretty legit ad. This one I thought was more realistic, though, in terms of Rickard Rakell heading to the Devils and the Penguins taking back the Palat contract because now he's got a limited no trade clause. So like a modified, it's not completely full. So a first, a second, and second, get off the Palat contract and you get Rickard Rakell. I mean, Rakell and Jesper Bratt would have such a fun time together. I think it makes a lot of sense. I just wonder if Pittsburgh and New Jersey are ready to make a trade in division like that. But that's one that could make a lot of sense for me. I've also heard that Palat to a California team could make some sense, like San Jose or Anaheim. Of course, Palat, the familiarity with Killorn and that aspect in Anaheim, but also him potentially going to San Jose, where they are trying to bring in veterans, and I feel like San Jose would love New Jersey to give them some nice assets along with Palat, and of course they have a recent trade together with that Timo Meier trade, of course. And adding some more into the scenario, again, these are fan proposals, so I'm just reacting to it. But that one makes a lot of sense. I mean, once upon a time, Kyle Dubas is the one that signed Justin Holl to the contract in Toronto. So him going to Pittsburgh with Erik Karlsson going to Detroit would make a lot of sense if Pittsburgh, in fact, does get a first-round pick. Does Pittsburgh accept if Detroit wants to protect that first-round pick, like top 5 protected in terms of the Gavin McKenna aspect? I mean, maybe Pittsburgh says, nah, screw that. If you guys are confident you're going to be in the playoffs, you shouldn't have to worry about that. So that's an interesting conversation, especially when Pittsburgh's making trades here. They're going to ask for the other team's 2026 first-round pick. I'll say it again, and I've said it a couple times now, is Pittsburgh getting Gavin McKenna would cause quite the stir, especially after their last big franchise players. It would be kind of funny. But this one's also very interesting. Konsta Helenius is I've heard that a lot of people like him as a prospect. Maybe Buffalo wants to hold on to him, but Brian Rust would be the kind of player that Buffalo would benefit from. So does that move the needle, though? And he's older. I just think Helenius is going to be a stud. It's just like, is Buffalo willing to wait any longer? Because fans are getting restless. It's been a conversation for a while. So if they feel Konsta Helenius is not going to be anything more than a second-line center, then maybe they're okay with moving him. But if they feel he might be more than that, then you probably want to keep him. I know that's pretty obvious. But this Pittsburgh-Edmonton one also, I've talked about that scenario. I think it's kind of funny. A lot of people kind of rip me for it. But if you go look, I'm giving you guys homework. Go look at Tristan Jarry's stats, like not this past year, not the year before, but like for literally 4 years straight prior to that, he had consistent good NHL numbers. Last year, obviously not so much. The year before, it was up and down. But for 4 years straight, that's only 2 years ago, he had really good elite numbers. I think Pittsburgh's been brutal defensively the last 2 years and just haven't had a good defense group, haven't had a good team defensively. So I don't blame him for having bad numbers at the end of the day. But what I do point towards is Darnell Nurse at over a $9 million cap hit for Edmonton, with Jarry having just over half of that, and Edmonton clearly needing a goalie upgrade. Do I think Jarry's an upgrade over Skinner day one? No. But it gets you off the Nurse contract, and Jarry's only got 3 more years left in his contract. It's a lot more of it's a contract you can kind of stomach a little bit. So who do I think Pittsburgh's going to trade next? Yeah, I think it's between Karlsson, Raquel, and Brian Rust probably, but there's other guys I think they could deal. Like, I think they're going to keep Malkin and Letang around for now, especially Letang, and then Malkin, it might be an in-season trade depending on where they're at in the season. So just to recap again this trade just quickly, I mean, Dumba's been really bad. Like, I made a joke of a tweet, I'll pull it up here. I had said Letang, Karlsson, Dumba on the right side in Pittsburgh would have been elite in 2017. Somebody commented, Dubas is stuck in 2017. I don't know about that, but I will say it is kind of funny because if you do look back at it around that timeline, I mean, Karlsson was, I think some people were considering him the best defenseman in the league. Letang obviously was top 10, top 15 defenseman as well. And Dumba was pretty good for the Wild back then. But kind of my take and prediction. I think Rasmus Andersson could also be a trade that follows at some point here. Maybe it's to the Dallas Stars. Maybe it's to the Vegas Golden Knights. Clearly the Dallas Stars opening up cap space is giving them an opportunity to keep Jason Robertson for one. But two, it's for flexibility to make a trade now and add a guy. So maybe it is Rasmus Andersson. I think there is a scenario where Jason Robertson could go out for a defenseman and another forward. I've also considered that in my head. It's like, okay, Jason Robertson, a guy that scored 40-plus goals twice, that's wanted around the league a lot. Could I flip him and get a top 4 right shot defenseman and a top 6 forward? Look what Buffalo did, right? They traded Peterka and got Josh Doan and Kessering back. Do I think that's the best value? No. Maybe Dallas can do a little bit better than that. Erik Karlsson to Detroit makes a lot of sense. I do think if Dallas, I would say, got a little deeper with this conversation with Pittsburgh, they could have definitely made this deal bigger. They could have, this makes me think Pittsburgh's not willing to retain as much salary as I think teams would hope. Like maybe Pittsburgh's willing to retain 25%. Like 50% is a lot on a $10 million price tag. So maybe you can get it down to $7.5 million to Erik Karlsson. And I don't think Dallas could afford that. So yeah, that's kind of where my head's at. I think that trade could have been bigger with Erik Karlsson going to Dallas if Pittsburgh was willing to retain more. So that's what it makes me think that Detroit's more of an option. Maybe Toronto's more of an option. If I had to throw another team out there, I mean, I'll throw the hot take out there just for fun, an Ottawa reunion. So we'll see what happens, guys. I'm just having fun with it. But last thing, the equivalent of the deal for Toronto could have been something like Kampf plus Yarncrow plus a 2029 second-round pick for Ty Dellandrea, San Jose. So I just use that comparison because it's a similar thing, right? Like the Dumba $3.75 million cap hit. If you got rid of Kampf and Yarncrow, that's over $4 million. Taking on like a Dellandrea, which is like a $1.3 million cap hit. Similar structure. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching as always. Give me your thoughts on this trade, next moves to come for Pittsburgh and Dallas, and maybe any other moves that could transpire over the next few days. Thanks, everyone. Talk soon.